Good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad to be here. My name is Judy, and I was one of the students last session. I think it was the very first session for the class. Yeah, so my little experience, my class was really fun. We were very interactive. The learning was very fun, actually. Yeah, and after the class, we kept doing the interview. So even after the class, you're not abandoned. Miss Georgia kept doing interview sessions with us every Tuesday where we had questions. We had the opportunity to, record some of the questions that we didn't answer correctly during our interviews. We had the opportunity to talk about that during that session, and she would coach us on how to go about answering those. So my experience is that, I started applying for jobs while I was in class, actually 2 weeks, a week or two when I started class, as I was already applying for jobs. And by the end of class, which is exactly the fourth week, um, I had already done quite a few interviews. And so a few days after class ended, I received my first offer. That was exactly, we started in June 5th. In July the 9th, I received my first job offer, and after that, I received a few more. But the whole idea here is that, yeah, I just kept learning. I didn't wait until I knew everything to start the interview. I just started doing it. And as I did it, I became better at answering questions and making mistakes and learning from those mistakes. And really, that's really my best advice in the first place. I know sometimes when you're in class and this is a new field and you've never done this before, you may be a little skeptical to start applying for jobs or to start the interview because you feel like, oh, I don't know enough. But yeah, I didn't know enough when I started answering phone calls and doing interviews. I just started doing it, and the more I did it, the more mistake I made. That's how I learned from it. And right after finishing the class, I received my first offer. My experience at work is that every company is different. You are gonna go to companies that are really fully agile, and others are not. Others are just transitioning to this agile framework. I would say the first thing that you really do during your first few weeks is really to learn and ask as many questions as you can. Kind of observing your team, the environment, and really seeing how things are going. My major challenge at work is really how to influence people, how to it's very strategic. You are a servant leader and you don't have that authority to tell people this is how you do things, this is what we are going to do, because during your interview you need to make sure that you are doing that service. Yeah, so there's certain words that you don't use during your interview. You cannot say I tell them. You have to say I influence their decision, I help my team. Because indeed, when you come to the real work, you are influencing the team. You can only influence the team, you can only coach the team, but you cannot tell them exactly how to do things, what to go about doing things. And really change is difficult. So really my most difficult challenge is that, how can I look at the process that we are currently working on, and how can I change that, how can I influence that without stepping on people's toe, without being pushy, without them feeling as if I am telling them what to do. So and of course I'm still learning in the field, and really that's been my experience so far. I think I am grateful to God because my current company has been very helpful. I haven't had any major challenge so far, but during my journey, that has been my little journey so far. I would say though that you are never fully ready for interviews because they're going to ask you questions that you've never seen before. And I would say that really what landed me the job is not because I knew a lot. It was because of my confidence, right? It's very important for you to be confident and know that because we have an interview, they're going to ask you things that you were not prepared for. They were going to ask you things, no matter how much you prepare for it, questions are always different. And they're going to just ask you questions depending on your background and all that you are really not ready to answer. So I would say go in, read your courses, really be ready, know your stuff, have a business case because it was pivotal for me. I used the business case a lot. I had to master my business case because some of the few scenario questions are there. But aside from that, they're going to ask you things you've never seen before. And the only thing you have is confidence. Show them, even when you don't know, show them that you know. right? Because when you're confident, even if you're saying things wrong, people don't often see that. They see how confident are you, how can you answer questions, etc. So yeah, that's my little experience so far, and it's been great. And I'm so grateful for Miss Georgette because you know, coming right out of college and having a 6-figure plus income, yeah, that's awesome. It feels good. Trust me, the money feels good. So I'm actually grateful for her because she introduced me to this in the first place. Thank you.
Okay, girls, do you guys have any question on that to ask Judy Kael before she leave?
So averagely, how many interviews did you have to go through before getting your first job?
Yeah, before getting my first job, actually my first job, they gave me this higher view where I had to record myself reading questions on the screen and just recording a video of me talking. And so after that, I think that was my first screening, and they used that to screen the applicants for the next step. And you know, after that, I just went to the next step. And to be honest, on that day, I wasn't even sure I was going for that interview. I looked at the resume, it was so technical. It seems like they gave me the wrong resume for some reason. So it was really technical and I was skeptical. I was like, oh my God, should I even go to this interview? I'm so tired of doing interviews. But I went, right? I went, and there were 3 people. The people that interviewed me are my colleagues and my manager. Those are the 3 people that actually interviewed me. So they interviewed me for like 30 minutes, all 3 of them. And 30 minutes after, they called me and say, you got the job. It was that simple for me, for my, you know, for that particular job. For other companies that I've gone through many rounds. On average, you're going to go through 2 to 3 rounds before you get an offer. Most companies are not as easy as my current company. Most companies are going to go through 1, 2, 3, right? And your third round, sometimes you can have a loop interview where you're talking to at least 4 people back to back. You know, one of the companies that I interviewed for, which was T-Mobile, they actually went through that back-to-back interviews. Other companies, they just instead of giving you the loop, they just put all those people together in one spot and they give you like an hour interview. So it really depends, but on average, you're going to do multiple rounds.
Okay, thank you. The main question I was even asking was, how many companies did you have to interview for before getting a job?
Okay, yeah. So I don't have a clear number because I've had a lot of I don't know if you've noticed, or if you started applying, you're going to realize that there's so many recruiters that call you, right? And some of them call you and never even get back to you. Did you have that experience, Priscilla?
I just started applying, so I haven't had any yet.
Okay, so that's one of the things that you're gonna have. You're gonna have recruiters are gonna call you for like just calling you and acting as if you already have the job. Those are not really serious. Some recruiters, I would say, be on the lookout for recruiters that are inside the company. I would say real interviews that I haven't had a lot. I had a few companies, Axiom, T-Mobile. I really didn't struggle too much before getting my first offer. Most of the interviews that I had were like recruiters. That one I had a lot. The pre-screening interview where they call you on the phone and they want to see kind of your range and stuff like that. You're going to receive that a lot. Interviews that have moved me to the next step, I've had a few companies, about 12. But interviews that moved me to the 3rd round, I had a few. Maybe just a few. T-Mobile, Capital One, and this company that just gave me an offer, but it wasn't that much. Yeah, I didn't really go through so many interviews because I got the job pretty quickly after I finished class. That was just my experience. It's different for everybody.
Okay, thank you so much, and I really do appreciate you coming to share this with us.
Sure.
One more question for you, Judy Kael. So my question is, so like on your first day or first week of work, did they like grant you any opportunities to get trained, or they just assume that you, based on your experience, you should be able to do the work?
They actually paired me with a current Scrum Master. So in my company, I'm taking over one of the teams that my current Scrum Master has. I'm taking over one of the teams and a new team that is coming in. So they paired me with somebody who was already doing the job, because the truth is, yes, you may have the expertise as a Scrum Master. When they hire you, you say, okay, I have 6 years of experience or 5 years. They know that you have the expertise, but you have to learn about a company, right? So they need to pair you with somebody that can teach you how things are being done and stuff like that. So yes, the first week they paired me with, it was pretty much onboarding. You know, it's going to take a while for you to really get into the system, and then they're going to pair you with somebody where you can ask questions, you know, based on your experience, how you can better manage your team. And really it would depend on what your company is all about, right? It would depend on how your company is structured and all those things. So yeah, during the first week, again, you take that opportunity to just ask as many questions as you want. But something that I also want to notice, that I also want to talk about, is that I had to meet every single one of my team member one-to-one. That one, they're not going to tell you. They expect you to know that. It's going to be your team. So it's your job to make sure you know them one-on-one, every single person. And I had a pretty big team. We have about 12 to 15 developers in one team only. So yes, I had to meet with each and every single one of them, even if it's just 15 minutes. Meet them, talk about them, ask about your expectations of you, what are the things they like about the current process, what are the things they dislike about the current process, etc. So yes, that one they're not going to tell you though. You need to know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Any question before we go back to our class? Okay.
I have a question here. I hear about first offer. So does she have multiple jobs? Because, and if you do, does it mean you take different time zones, or how does that work?
Currently, I haven't started my other offer. You know, so I'm not really sure how that is going to go. I haven't started that yet. I would say though, as a Scrum Master, the only reason why I took another offer was that I have my current company is very flexible and I have a lot of time. They're not stressing me. But as a Scrum Master, you have tons of meetings that you need to attend. You know, just counting the ceremonies, they're going to take quite a bit of your time and stuff like that. So I guess for you to take two offers, you need to really look at those factors and see if you can even handle one to start with. Some companies are more stressful than others. To be honest, I know people that struggle with only one offer. So it really depends on really where you are and how comfortable you feel in your current role before you attempt to take another offer. So my advice is to first start with one, see how it goes before you even attempt to take another one. That's just my candid advice, because it can be challenging depending on the company in which you are. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Judy. So let's go back to our class.
All right, thank you guys. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Bye.